Bible Characters, Exodus Series 2, Part 3. Pharaoh's Magicians. Pharaoh's magicians were a group of skilled practitioners who appear in the biblical account of the Exodus, specifically in the confrontation with Moses and Aaron. What are the key figures? Jannes and Jambres. Although not named in Exodus, the magicians Jannes and Jambres are mentioned in other biblical references, like in 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 8 as opposing Moses. Role in the Exodus story. Confrontation with Moses. Pharaoh's magicians attempted to replicate the miracles performed by Moses and Aaron, but their efforts were ultimately unsuccessful, demonstrating God's power. The magicians' failure highlighted the superiority of God's power over human abilities. Significance. Spiritual significance. The story of Pharaoh's magicians serves as a reminder of God's power and authority over all human endeavors. Warning against opposing God. Their actions demonstrate the consequences of opposing God's will and the futility of human efforts against divine power. What lessons do we glean from the life and character of Pharaoh's magicians? Futility of opposing God. The magician's attempts to replicate Moses' miracles ultimately failed, demonstrating the futility of opposing God's power. Limitations of human abilities. Their failures highlighted the limitations of human abilities and the superiority of God's power. Importance of humility. The magician's story promotes humility and recognition of God's sovereign authority. Consequences of resistance. Their actions demonstrate the consequences of resisting God's will and the importance of submission. Spiritual insights. God's sovereignty. The story emphasizes God's sovereignty and authority over all human endeavors. Warning against pride. The magician's failure serve as a warning against pride and the dangers of overestimating human abilities. Personal growth. Recognizing God's power. The story encourages recognizing God's power and authority in our lives. Humility and submission. It promotes humility and submission to God's will rather than resisting or opposing God. The story of Pharaoh's magicians provides valuable lessons for spiritual growth, humility, and recognizing God's authority and power. The story of Pharaoh's magicians emphasizing the importance of recognizing and respecting the only true and sovereign God with power and authority. This is Her Honor, the Lady Prophetess, Professor Smanya Abigail Carroll, PhD at Visions of Glory International. Shalom.